Pues, buenos días a todas y a todos, también a aquellos que nos siguen online. Un saludo especial a aquellos que nos seguiréis
Good morning,
posteriormente
everyone, to
desde
everyone here and
Estados
to
Unidos.
all of those who are following us
Tenemos una
online
asamblea
on
de
streaming.
Eu-Celac,
Welcome,
creando
members of the
incertidumbre ante
European
desafíos
Union.
globales
This meeting is called CELAC,
y
Creating
comunes.
Certainty in the Face of
Estamos
Common and
fundamentales en
Global
momentos
Challenges. We're
cruciales
dealing
de
with
nuestra
major
historia,
challenges in crucial
donde
moments of our
los
history.
desafíos globales están al orden
Global
del día
challenges are
y lo ideal
ever more
es que
present,
comencemos a bajar
and we have to see how we can work
precisamente
together
para crear
in a
certidumbre,
better way
porque creo que
to
son
create
fundamentales y
certainties.
podemos
This is
ayudar
one of
a la
the
hora de
major
poder hacer frente a todos estos
challenges that we have
desafíos a los que nos
not
enfrentamos
working together.
hoy en día. Este encuentro está organizado
This
desde el
meeting has
Ministerio
been
de Asuntos
organized by
Exteriores
the Ministry of
de
Foreign
Cooperación e
Affairs,
Integración y de Unión Europea a través de la
the
Secretaría General
Cooperation
de
and European
Cooperación
Union
del
Ministry,
Gobierno de
through the
España
Secretariat of the
y
European Union of the Government
con
of
la
Spain,
colaboración de
together with the Yuste
Extremadura, la
Foundation
Asociación de
and with the
Obispos, la
cooperation
Asociación
of
de
the
Cáceres
regional
y por
government,
supuesto
the
el
regional
Real
government of
Monasterio
Cáceres and
de
Badajoz, and of
Guadalupe,
course the Royal
que nos recibe
Monastery of
en
Guadalupe that is
Cáceres.
hosting us.
Quiero también agradecer a todas
I
aquellas
also
personas
wish to
que se
thank all the
inscriben
people
de
that
diferentes
registered
países, tanto de Europa como
from
de España.
different
Paso
countries
a citar, tenemos inscritos
from the
por ejemplo,
European
desde
Union and Spain. We have
Suiza,
people
Argentina,
registered from Spain, Belgium,
Honduras,
Argentina,
Colombia,
Peru,
México,
Honduras,
México,
Colombia,
Guatemala,
Mexico, Morocco,
Venezuela, Portugal,
Guatemala,
España,
Venezuela, Portugal,
Panamá,
Argentina,
Nicaragua,
Ecuador,
Francia,
Panama,
Italia,
Nicaragua, Italy, France, Spain, Bolivia,
Haití,
Haiti,
Chile.
United States, and Chile.
Una cordial
So
bienvenida a
I
todos
wish to
aquellos
warmly
oyentes
welcome
que nos permitan
everyone,
seguir
and
adecuadamente
I
el canal
really
de
hope that you can
YouTube
follow us
y decir
adequately
también que
on the
el
YouTube
encuentro está
channel. I must also say that this event is being broadcasted in Spanish and in English. It will be recorded and there will be a follow up in Brussels. The second part will take place on December 3rd. So, without any further ado, we're going to give the floor to um, those who will be in charge of inaugurating the meeting. I have the honor of meeting the director of the Yuste Foundation, Juan Carlos Moreno. You have the floor. Mr. Secretary of State for the European Union of the Government of Spain, Mr. Ambassador of Honduras in Spain, Mrs. Ambassador of Hungary in Spain, diplomatic directors or representatives, representatives from the judiciary, Mrs. Director of the Extremadura International Development for Cooperation Agency, dear Isabel, dear Fray, Guillermo, dear friends, good morning, Europe, and good evening, America. I wish to welcome you all on behalf of the European and Ibero-American Academy of Justice. It's a public foundation. It's a European foundation and it's also an Ibero-American foundation, which under the honorary presidency of His Majesty King Felipe VI aims to contribute to the promotion and consolidation of the existing links between Extremadura, Europe, and Ibero-America under the principles of loyalty, respect for the identity of each nation, mutual benefit, and solidarity. The purpose of the foundation is the promotion of democracy, respect for human rights, fostering peace and international harmony, as well as the integral, harmonious, balanced, and sustainable development of all peoples and nations of the world, particularly through the encouragement of culture, research, dissemination of knowledge, and social integration. Speaking today of these two regions of the world, Europe and Ibero-America, involves talking about a group of states that represent together over a fourth of the world's GDP, a third of the members of the UN, and almost half of the members of the G20. 60 countries that, when they act together, contribute to major achievements. But the implications go far beyond that. We are speaking of a community of people bound together by ties of blood mixed over hundreds of years, forging an intangible heritage based on shared culture, in which language acts as a vehicle. Undoubtedly, culture unites us and helps us to have a common identity, but it is also necessary to initiate a joint search for solutions to common problems, because in today's world, problems are no one's exclusive burden. This common search of answers to our challenges is very complex and long lasting. It is a tree that we are planting and whose shade we will surely not sit in, but we are obliged to water and fertilize it in the hope that one day our children's children will enjoy it. We do not know if that when will be in 2030 or much farther, and until that goal is reached, the challenge for the present generation is to work to advance along the way. And in light of what we saw at the Ecuador summit, it seems like the road will be a long one. As Maria Benedetti put it, um, one goes backwards with certainty, but one goes forward. On the hesitanceful road to the future, there are many uncertainties, but very few um, certainties. And among these few certainties, I recognize above all the need for um, the tomorrow. Uh, I recognize above all the need for tomorrow to be built on the pillars of democracy, freedom, solidarity, respect for human rights, and the dignity of the individual, values that are underpinned by the strength of the rule of law. Therefore, as the King of Spain said at the closing of the Cuenca Summit, we must focus on what unites us and overcome the differences that may arise, preserving the consensus built in the 3 decades of summits to continue making Ibero-America, since there is much more that unites us than what separates us. And this is the reason we have organized this meeting to analyze both the results of the EU-CELAC Summit of Heads of State and Government that took place in Brussels in July 23 under the Spanish presidency of the Council of the European Union, and the results of the recent Ibero-American Summit of Heads of State and Government that took place in Ecuador. The purpose is to identify and analyze the main current and future global issues and challenges for the European Union, for Ibero-America, and for the Caribbean, and to provide reflections on what we can do together in preparation for the CELAC EU Summit that will be held in Bogota in 2025, and for the next Ibero-American Summit to be held in Spain in 2026. We have 2 years ahead of us in which Spain has the task of promoting much needed dialogue. I am very grateful to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Cooperation of the Government of Spain for the trust placed in the Yuste Foundation for the organization of this meeting in a place that is very special, as you can see, the Royal Monastery of Santa María de Guadalupe, declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1993. We are being hosted by the hospitality of the Franciscan order, which greets us with the words peace and good. Peace and good, which is precisely what we often miss in the Ibero-American community. Just as I have expressed my gratitude to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, European Union and Cooperation as an institution, I would also like to acknowledge the work of those people responsible for it, the people who have collaborated with us to make this meeting possible. I really wish to thank you all for this work during these past months and this past year that made it possible to meet here in Guadalupe in the Royal Monastery, creating a suitable atmosphere for analysis and serene reflection. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Director. Now we're going to give the floor to Brother Miguel Ferrato. Please, welcome. Feel welcome to this house of the common mother. I wish to apologize to begin with because unexpectedly you have had to wait for my presence when I should have been waiting for your presence. I am really sorry about this. My words would be peace and good, and please be welcome. Good morning and good evening to those of us who are following this meeting from other parts of the world. Please feel warmly welcome, all of you who are present here in this Moorish hall of the Monastery of Guadalupe in Extremadura. Those of us who are following us from different places, please also feel welcome. Those who are remotely connected and who will be able to follow us and will have the opportunity to uh, learning how to create certainties. Distinguished authorities who are here in this panel, all the entities that are here honoring us with your presence, all authorities who are here in this hall and in this home of the common mother, Saint Mary of Guadalupe. Please feel at home and you can trust this house because we are being protected by our common mother. I wish to um, extend my gratitude to everyone here and emphasize the task and the job of the European and Ibero-American Academy of Yuste is carrying out. Its director and representatives in Brussels have put lots of work in organizing this meeting, as well as um, the different collaborators. Thanks to the sponsors and all participants who are going to be here as panelists or as attendees. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a very fruitful meeting. I also wish to share a thought with you. You are honoring us with your presence here, and you are honoring Extremadura and the Franciscan order that is headquartered here in Guadalupe. It is an honor that in these times we can be hosting this meeting and the fact that there has been so much interest in this meeting that is so pertinent and so relevant. I hope that these days of positive thought and serene reflection in this common meeting with such different and complementary views, I really hope, as I was saying, that these days in the common house of the common mother, we will be able to bridge gaps rather than creating builds and building pits. And I hope that we will be able to become instruments of good and peace. Certainties can be created not only from rational and artificial intelligence, but also mostly based on emotional intelligence. Certainties are created from inner peace and thanks to the promotion to interpersonal, international, and global relations. A few days ago, in this same room, there was a historic symposium taking place in memory of 12 men. Some people mentioned in the symposium that there was probably another man. We're talking about men who were wearing this same Franciscan suit and who were friars from the 16th century. people who offered their lives to forging Americas and who have the evangelical spirit, a humble spirit, and a simple spirit. These 13 men were true servers. And in a very simple and true way, we discovered these men as people who didn't uh, dig pits but bridged gaps because they uh, felt as equals to those who they sent the evangelical news to. This joint dialogue should help us understand that we can grow together and we can help common horizons of hope in the ideal of a shared communal life, a life that is rewarding in different ways and that can be fruitful for people in different situations. Thanks a lot for your presence, and let us work with hope. Thank you very much, Father. Thanks for welcoming us once again in your home. And hopefully, we will see you this afternoon when we take a guided visit to the meeting. I'm going to give the floor Isabel Belloso Hueso, who's the director of the Foreign Development Foundation of the Regional Government of Extremadura. Thank you very much. Um, His Excellency Secretary of State for the European Union, distinguished ambassadors of Honduras and Hungary, dear Father of the Monastery of Guadalupe, and dear Director of the Foundation, authorities, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me as the Director of the Extremadian Agency for Development of the Regional Government of Extremadura to welcome you all to this historic site, the Monastery of Guadalupe, and on this special occasion. This place is a symbol not only for Extremadura, it has also been able to bear witness to the deep ties that connect Europe with Latin America and the Caribbean. Today, this um, emblematic space becomes the home of a transcendental dialogue between regions that share more than history. We share challenges, values, and a common future. We have a context, as it has been mentioned, of uncertainty, and cooperation is necessary. The world is being marked by complexities that go beyond our borders. We have the impact of climate change. One of its episodes has been suffered in Valencia recently, and I want to use this opportunity to show our solidarity and our concern from the regional government of Extremadura. Social and economic inequalities, crisis, and geopolitical challenges that are threatening with fragmenting our societies. Extremadura, Latin America, and the Caribbean are not alien to these dynamics. We are essential stakeholders in the search for solutions. The recent pandemic, the conflicts and wars in different regions, for example, the Near East, remind us of fragility or the weakness of our certainties. However, as Eduardo Galeano put it, many small people doing many small things in many small places can change the world. So that is our goal. This encounter is a collective event to show that when we add individual efforts, we can create sustainable and bold answers to these common challenges that are affecting the world. From Extremadura, we can play an important role because uh, because of our cultural ties, and in a place like Guadalupe, we can talk about emotional ties. Extremadura has a unique relationship with Latin America and the Caribbean, not only because our episodes in the shared history, but also because of the present that we have and because of the future that we want to build together. This region that I'm proudly representing feels deeply connected to the values, aspirations of our friends and comrades beyond the Atlantic Ocean. Guadalupe, the place that's hosting us, was the witness of the beginning of a relationship between two worlds 5 centuries ago. Over 5 centuries ago, there was a meeting uh, and an exchange of cultures and identities. And this is where the first steps of dialogue took place. This dialogue is going on, and we keep strengthening that with strategic alliances. However, our connection is not only historic, it's also a connection that is emotional, cultural, social, and economic. Uh, Extremadura, with its rural vocation, shares the richness of its identity and the challenges of preserving it in a global context that is at risk.
We can appeal to solidarity, Gabriel Garcia Marquez said. The solidarity is the tenderness of peoples. So let's make appeal to that tenderness and let us implement it in a material way by all stakeholders. And thirdly, I also meant to say that we have shared challenges: climate change, social justice, and innovation. We must face those monumental challenges together. Climate change does not make a difference between regions. Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe are on the first line of that problem. We must advance towards a fair ecological transition, and we must guarantee food security in the concept of interattitude. In Extremadura, just like in many other places in Latin America, agriculture is a way of life. Despite that, extreme meteorological events and climate change threaten our traditions and our local economies and our livelihoods. Our collaboration can make a difference here, and I am convinced that out of this forum, new commitments and proposals for added value will come out. It's also an opportunity to reduce inequalities through digitalization, through the new technologies. They offer us a great opportunity to transform our regions, and we must do it in an inclusive way, making sure that no one is left behind. We must equally reinforce our democracies in a world where polarizations and fractures represent threats. Latin America and the Caribbean share a deep commitment for democratic values. So solidarity and the exchange of experiences and opinions can be decisive as well. Here, let us build certitudes. The cooperation, international cooperation in general, and international cooperation for development are ways, are tools for managing global problems, and is also an expression of our deeper values. From Extremadura, we work so that this collaboration, that this cooperation is a lever for a greater human development. Von der Leyen said that we are in the midst of a new commencement between older friends. That spirit of friendship and collaboration must guide us in our cooperation. But it's not enough to remember the past. We know that in Extremadura, we must build the present and project towards the future. So this forum is a great chance to reflect about the multidimensional perspectives of the relationship between Europe and Spain and Latin America and the Caribbean, and to build together a work plan with good solidarity and good actions. So I invite you to take advantage of this space to build ambitious, to establish a dialogue and build ambitious proposals and a common and collective commitment in order to advance in our relationship. The diplomat and Extremadurian writer Donoso Cortés says that we must get together not just to do things together, but to solve things together. And we must focus on our needs and on our solving our problems together. These words have a good echo because our challenges need a common response based on decisive action. Thank you, Fundación Yuste. Thank you, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all organizations that made this encounter possible. I'm sure that these will be decisive and they will mark a new chapter in the relationship of the CELAC and the European Union. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Director. Marlon Brevery, the Ambassador of Honduras in Spain and pro tempore President of the Community of States of Latin America and the Caribbean. Thank you very much. Secretary of State for the European Union, Mr. Fernando Mariano, respectable members of the main table, distinguished participants, both virtually and in presence of this event. It's a great honor for me to address you in this gathering, highlighting the importance of the bi-regional relationships between the European Union and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC. CELAC, our association, forged along decades, goes well beyond a political agreement. It's about shared goals, and it's actually today we are around a common commitment. We must reinforce our commitment strategically, and we must seize the opportunities that we may have in this new stage of collaboration. The third summit, CELAC European Union, celebrated in Brussels, July the 17th and 18th, 2023, marked a historical milestone. After 8 years of pause, thanks to the pro tempore presidency of Spain in the European Union, relationships, our dialogue came to the conclusion that we must advance towards a more strategic relationship. We therefore strengthened our relationship and we sent an unequivocal message to the world. We are together in order to face global challenges together and to build a sustainable future based on our common values. From our summit, leaders from both regions adopted a joint declaration establishing the priorities of our association. Even though it was not signed by all states, its content reflects a firm commitment around key topics affecting both Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe. Amongst the most important ones are the commitments about multilateralism and human rights, peace and security in the world, climate change and sustainability. And I wanted to present this here in order to send our solidarity to the people impacted and affected by Dana here in Valencia, and to share with you that we in Honduras also suffered a tropical storm last weekend, causing 5 deaths and having impacted 50,000 people. And we thank the international cooperation, the development banks, and the Kingdom of Spain for significant donations being made to palliate the damages. So other climate change and sustainability, this includes commerce and investments, the digital transition, and the health resilience. These commitments are a reflection of a common understanding, looking not just to the present, but projecting towards a future full of possibilities for our region. One of the main pillars of this renovated association is the agenda for investments called Global Gateway. represented one of the most ambitious investment initiatives between our regions, with an initial commitment from the European Union to invest 45 billion euros in Latin America and the Caribbean up until 2027. The Global Investment Agenda, Global Gateway, has as its goal to break the investment lag in digital transformation, energy and the production of cleaner energies, energy transition and the production of cleaner energies. Latin America and the Caribbean, we have with its vast resource richness, will have a leading role in global transformation and translation, and a rational exploitation of critical raw materials and minerals that will not only reinforce our economies, but it will also guarantee their supply chains will be sustainable, resilient, and fair. The global investment gateway also makes sure that will make sure that the investment will get to global communities, improving the quality of life and creating opportunities for all. We're on the threshold of a new era in our bioregional relationships, with many challenges, but also a great consensus. The approved plan for 2025 will make it so that the regions can work together in order to face global challenges. This roadmap, this plan, must be reworked later on in order to be implemented. We have made an effort to build bridges in our regions, demonstrated that leadership based on consensus and inclusion is key for a successful association. The leadership of Honduras as pro tempore president of CELAC in 2024 has been fundamental in order to keep the momentum of our association. As an example of that, the enlarged troika met in New York, cited by the Chancellor of Honduras and the High Representative and Vice President of the European Union, Josep Borrell. During that meeting, it became evident that both regions have committed in order to make progress around a strategic roadmap and agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the relationship between the European Union and the CELAC goes beyond a political commitment. It's about shared values. It's about a vision for the future. Together, we have the opportunity to lead a global change towards some sustainable development and some fair and inclusive development as well. I invite all people present here to take the necessary steps to reinforce this historical commitment. The success of our collaboration will not only benefit our regions, but it will also be an example to the world of how a gathering of efforts can transform challenges into opportunities. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Ambassador, for your kind words that we thank in the name of us all. And we must continue, as you say, to work in continuity of the summit that took place last year. Now the floor goes to Catherine, to Madam Ambassador from Hungary. Please, you have the floor. Mr. Secretary of State, Ms. Director, Mr. Ambassador, dear Father, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everyone. It's a great honor for me to participate in this forum organized in order to foster the relationships between our Europe and the countries of CELAC. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your invitation. We have the temporary presidency of the European Union. As you know, we have very many priorities which are to lead strategic debates for our Europe. But other than that, we also try to be present in different fora as important as this one, as this conference today. Amongst our priorities, there is competitiveness. That's a priority that is quite relevant for this conference today. Please allow me to share with you some of the elements of the Hungarian position regarding cooperation between the European Union and CELAC. Latin America and the Caribbean and the European continent are linked by some common values such as respect for tradition, religion, sovereignty, human rights, and fundamental freedoms. These are and also share interests such as economic transformation, environmental respect, and commercial relationships. In the turbulent situation, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, or the situation in the Middle East, this relationship tends to be relegated to its second plan. But Latin America and the Caribbean offer a great array of opportunities. It's very clear that other actors are increasing their presence in the region more than Europe is. There has been a penetration of China in that market, such as we heard last year, about the announcement of the construction of a big port in Peru. Europe must ask itself about that. It's necessary that we as the European Union maintain a high level of commitment with the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean in order to look for opportunities for recuperation. We are very happy that a summit was celebrating between the European Union and the countries which is members of the CELAC on the other side. The Hungarian government considers it's very important to continue to cooperate with the CELAC during its presidency of the Council. And we think that the framework from 2015 is great for that. The Hungarian government acknowledged the change in the local dynamics, and we value our reinforced presence in the region thanks to the Southern Opening strategy. We have a presence in 10 different countries. We have amplified our diplomatic and consulate network there. Regarding the fields of expertise that we have, I'd like to underline that Hungary supports in general free trade agreements between the European Union and other places and regions. According to us, those agreements are essential for the EU to get back to a leadership position in the global economy. We're also convinced that in the midst of the current crisis, I cannot forget protecting the environment that must be combined with the economic development and the increase of competitiveness. The Declaration of Budapest, adopted in the resolution of the November 8th European Council, said that we want to make the European Union the first climate neutral region in the world. In order to implement all of that, we also need international associations. Cooperation cannot be completed without the mutual knowledge transfer and the exchange of experiences according to the goals of the 2030 agenda. In this sense, we also implement a cooperation with countries in Latin America and the Caribbean on several areas. And we've supported that during our presidency of the Council. For example, there's been an exchange of experiences about water with Argentina, Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico, and Brazil, a technology transfer, water transfer, and business forum in Guatemala, Peru, and Ecuador. Cooperation in the struggle against irregular immigration with the Dominican Republic, protection of the Amazon forest, cooperation with Ecuador under the initiative in Europe, and more than 600 grants from Hungary to 18 different countries, and to the SAHIP, and to the Pacific Association as well. Hungary, as an observatory partner of SAHIP, is committed. It continues to work for deepening our relationship with the SAHIP countries through programs such as the possibility to have an access to the Hungarian grants under the program Stipendium Hungaricum. Europe needs the countries of CELAC. I'll say it clearly. We must generate further investment and increase our level of admission. More practice and less theory. We must send clear and direct messages. Europe and the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean need a strategic perspective, and our role here in the European Union is to do as much as possible, not to waste any more time, so that this great project of ours can become a reality. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador Katalin Hoth. Actually forgot to say that you are part of the patronage of the Yuste Foundation. That's a great honor for us. Regrettably, we will have to go online now because of last-minute changes. Fernando, Mariano, SAMPEDRO, Marcos, Secretary of State for the European Union, Ministry of the Foreign Relationships, European Union, Cooperation of the Government of Spain. I think there is a link there. Can we go ahead? Yes. Okay. Mr. Secretary, say you have the floor. Very good morning, Europe and Guadalupe. Good evening, Latin America and the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can hear me okay. They told me there were some linking problems, but I think they have been solved. I'd like to say first and foremost that there is a very deep relationship between our government and regions. And I'd like to thank very profoundly all tokens of solidarity and affection coming from all over the world because of the recent Dana, and very especially from Latin America and the Caribbean. We will remember all victims here and there, and we will send a message of support and solidarity to all citizens affected by these climatic tragedies in Spain, in Honduras, and in very many countries in both our regions. I regret very deeply not to be able to be with you there in person in such a special place as the Monastery of Guadalupe because of a last-minute change of agenda. I'm very happy to be able to do it here, and I'll also be very happy to be there in person in Brussels in December 3rd in our next event. Minister Alvarez is first vice president of the Yuste Foundation, and on behalf of his, I wanted to express that there is a very rich relationship between the Latin American and Caribbean region and the European Union. This encounter takes place in a very opportune moment after the third summit of the EU-CELAC that put our relationships in the center of our strategy that was celebrated in Brussels last year during the presidency of Spain. And with an eye on the fourth summit that will be organized by Colombia next year. The events these days are within the collaboration of the Yuste Foundation and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, having as a goal the common interest of both our regions. I wanted to underline that the history that we share in both regions is a history of encounter, of solidarity, fraternity, and respect and common values. And why not? We should also say that it's about common readings, common songs, and common themes and human relationships that join us together as also our economic traits. As a token of that, there are over 6 million Europeans living in Latin America and over 7 million Latin Americans and Caribbeans living in Europe. These citizens sustain our very strong regional ties. We are the great children of people crossing the Atlantic. I am one of those. Who crossed the Atlantic in both directions. We are the children of a generation having suffered dictatorships, both there and here. And also, we are children of a generation with hope. We are colleagues and students of Latin American teachers and European teachers. We have been students taking part of student programs, having made us cross the Atlantic in both directions. I will organize my talk around two pillars. First, there's a change of cycle in the European Union and the priorities that mark the European agenda in the coming years. And secondly, I'd like to reflect upon the links joining our regions and the need for putting our efforts together to face the future. I'll start the first block by saying that we are in a crossroads for the region, full of challenges and opportunities. At this crossroads, it's interesting to reflect upon the Europe we wish to build. The reflection has been made from the European institutions that includes the whole of the European society and also its academia. For the past 5 years, there have been very great social and health problems, also marked by not just the pandemic, but also the war in Ukraine. There's a new presidency of the council. There has been Antonio Costa, who is also a Ibero-American. There has been Maria Callas, and there is a new college of commissaries led by President von der Leyen. The experience of the pandemic and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, together with the increasing conscience that we need a new strategy in order to limit our loss of weight in the global politics and economy, have marked the priorities of the region. It's interesting to compare older policies with the more recent policies of the European Union. We used to speak of climate change, the promotion of European values, and the creation of a solid economic base. Now, the new pillars of the new agenda look more inwardly: security, competitiveness, and the protection of our borders. These are goals adapted to the current moment, but we in Spain will insist to reinforce some other elements, and I'll underline the following. The efforts to make sure that we increase our competitiveness must go. The efforts to be greener and more competitive must also observe a respect of other parameters. And I think that is there at both sides of the Atlantic, and that is to leave no one behind in these new transitions. Secondly, the priority of the strategic agenda go to the transformation of the productive model with the citizens at the center. And that requires to develop a new industrial policy that is ambitious.
We want to have a European Union that's open to the world because we can find solutions for our problems just looking at ourselves. Multilateralism needs to be fostered as well as the respect for human rights. It also involves not losing sight of a single market to improve our strategic economy. And we must emphasize that this economy must be open. And this must be done without falling into protectionism and without forgetting the pillars of the Union. We have our association agreements and our relations, commercial relationships with other countries, trade relationships. That's very important. The second block of the intervention is as follows. Because of the external dimension of our activities, we must keep defending in this new cycle change Latin America as a priority because it is one of the regions in the world that we share the most with. So our historic ties should be preserved. There is a renewed interest in the region of Latin America and the Caribbean. We must emphasize the mention to Latin America in the discourse of the State of the Union in 2022 before the Spanish presidency. The president of the council, Charles Michel, was firmly committed with Latin America and the Caribbean and said so. And there have been high-level meetings with the different countries of the region in these years. President von der Leyen last year took an extensive visit to the region. Guimares met with Mari Callas, who will replace Josep Borrell in the next days, and it was emphasized that this region and this agenda must be strengthened in the next years. The European Union and Latin America and the Caribbean are not just history and culture. They involve a set of joint priorities that translate into a convergence of the large topics that are part of the European Union. United by history and our values, both regions now have a fruitful association and long-lasting association that help us join forces for the future. Internationally, in this international complex situation marked by large challenges, the situation of China, the US, and the surge of Asia economically, in this situation, Europe and Latin America are at risk of being sided, and that's why the strengthening and the of our ties is fundamental. In this sense, both regions must make an ongoing effort to close their ties, and using the words of the Commissioner Ferreira, we are natural partners. And we moved from being natural partners to being partners by election. Our natural partners and a common priority for each other. We are increasingly aware of the need to strengthen these ties. In the case of the European Union, we need a reliable and reliable partners with whom we share values, and this is an imperative in this geopolitical context. That's why it is important to emphasize that both regions share a common vision of the world and are many more things that unite us, many more than what separate us, as it has been said already, as the president of the Academy said it. Latin America is a partner with whom we can exchange experiences, we can exchange many aspects in a successful way and in a prosperous way. The promotion of reindustrialization and modernization can set the pace for sustainable and inclusive growth. It is a mutually beneficial relationship that must be strengthened. The idea of emphasizing these relations was present before 1 year before the Spanish presidency during the third meeting of foreign affairs meetings that took place in Buenos Aires and that crystallized in two documents that were released. The common action presented by Borrani Commission, a new agenda for presented on June 7th, 2023, and the declaration of the third or the statement of the third summit. That is the reference framework of the relationship between our two regions for the future. This is a set of instruments that can be used by these two regions, and there's a common object to prioritize cooperation. In line with this objective, a series of goals were established. There's a bi-regional roadmap, and initiatives have been adopted, like the digital alliance between the EU and Latin America and the Caribbean strategy. In Madrid, last July, the second meeting for the follow-up of the investment agenda in Latin America took place. We have advanced in many key aspects that will be decisive to promote our cooperation, and the triple transition will benefit from it, the fight against climate change and the loss of biodiversity. We're also talking about food security, governance, and the fight against transnational crime. And we are very committed with these and other aspects. The cooperation between the EU and Latin America and the Caribbean includes associations with Mexico and Mercosur trade agreements. This will have a positive impact on the economies of both partners and will help us create dynamism in the two regions thanks to our shared objectives. Anyways, to guarantee the continuity of our relationships, the key is to have a common agenda. We must defend our agenda commonly with the purpose of creating alliances based on this common agenda. This reflection on the situation of our bi-regional agenda has to take into consideration the international context. We are forced to understand each other, and we must fund our relations in three pillars. The transformation of regional Latin America and the Caribbean must have a priority place in the European agenda, and in the 5-year plan, it must be made clear, and there must be clear respect, mutual respect to guarantee our relations. In terms of the summit next year, our priority is to ensure that this political dynamism is not lost. I want to close by emphasizing our cooperation. Spaces like this help us base our activities for the next 5 years. I hope that this, and I trust, and I'm confident that these days will help our reflections and will be inspiring to keep working together and to guarantee our strategic relationship with Latin America and the Caribbean. These outcomes will be the outcomes will be presented in this follow-up meeting that will take place on December 6th in Brussels. In that meeting, we will have a new opportunity to keep strengthening our relations with our region that is a priority for us. There's a saying, an African saying that goes, because we have a wonderful relationship with Africa too, and the saying goes, to go very fast, we can go by ourselves. But if we want to go far, it's better to go together. And I am sure that the European Union and Latin America and the Caribbean will go on doing so. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Secretary of State, for these words that set the path in this new cycle that is starting in the European Union. We have a commission that will start working on December 1st, and we have the need to strengthen those ties that connect the two regions, creating relationships, because that is precisely what can help us create certainties. It will be a pleasure to see you again. I hope that we can see each other face to face in this meeting in December. And with these words of the Secretary of State, we can start the agenda to start reflecting and debating on those key aspects that we included in the agenda as the outcome of this meeting that took place in Brussels. We are going to start working. So we're going to close the inauguration panel, and we are going to start with the first presentation. We are going to break for a few minutes so that we can change the panel.